Hey everyone, my name is Eric. I'm a solutions engineer at Particle, and today I want to talk about firmware releases with the Particle console and Particle devices. Starting the firmware, I've got just a very simple Particle project set up here, just publishing once per second, logging some details about the firmware version to my serial monitor, as you can kind of see below here. And right now I've got the firmware version predefined as number 2. The firmware version is then set with this product version macro. The product version macro is going to tell the cloud which firmware version you're running locally and whether there needs to be an update. The cloud will then initiate that update based on some parameters that we can talk about. So with this firmware running, I can go over to my Particle console to release it. And in a minute, I'll show you the over-the-air update, but we'll first need to release that new firmware binary. So if I'm in my sandbox, I've got a product named msoms. I went to the cloud services and went to the firmware section. I can go ahead and upload the firmware. And in this case, it's the first firmware version that I'm releasing, but it's defined as version 2, and I'll explain why I did that in a second. But we'll give it a version 2 as defined in our firmware. Let's say my new release, and we'll make it a mandatory release. And over in my file explorer, I've got the file binary that was generated when I compiled this firmware version locally. And if you look in the file explorer of VS Code, that's under target, your device OS version, and your particle SKU version. So in this case, I'm using an msom. So I'll grab that binary, I'll upload it to the Particle console. We'll go ahead and step through the steps. I want to emphasize one thing. I've just updated this firmware, I've uploaded it to the console, but it's not released yet. So no devices will take this over-the-air update if I have more than one device in this product class. Next, after you've uploaded it, you need to click the release firmware option. And you'll be given the option to select a group. In this case, I don't have any groups defined for this product, and so I'll just choose product default. This is really powerful feature. For example, if you had like a beta group of devices that are in known safe locations that aren't with customers, that would not be so risky if this firmware was bad, for example. And you can slow roll your firmware releases in that manner. And then we've got an option between release, standard release or intelligent release. I'll choose intelligent, typically because it's just a little bit faster and it is able to, it defines the device, it tells the device to be ready for an over-the-air update rather than waiting for it to tell the cloud that it's ready for an over-the-air update. So I'll click through this and I understand what I'm doing, and I'm ready to release. You'll see that no devices are impacted because I currently have my local device running release 2. And what you might run into if you do this yourself is you might see the release this firmware option grayed out because no devices are locally running that. You always need to have either a development device or a production device that's running a firmware version that you're planning to release. This is a safety measure. Okay, so we've gone ahead and released it. We can see that it's our product default, it's an intelligent release, and nothing's happening. And that's expected because it's the same version as what I have running locally. Now, let's try rolling this local version back one. So now it's going to communicate with the cloud that it's version 1. The cloud's going to tell the device that there's a new version ready and initiate the over-the-air update. So I'll go ahead and flash this application. Now this update occurred here, and the Hello World logs, the Hello World publishes are still streaming through like before, but in the serial monitor you can see that it's running release 2, and the publish events, if I click into them, you can see that they're on version 2. So while I flashed this firmware version locally, that's not the version that it's actually running because the cloud backends told the device that it's ready for an over-the-air update, and we can see that reflected in the console and various other places. So that's how you manage firmware releases with the particled devices. Again, this is a really powerful feature because if the firmware release fails for whatever reason, the device goes offline halfway through the over-the-air update, it's able to recover and resume downloading that firmware release and only update itself when it's known safe.